This is Win News.
Tonight, police interview a man over a two-car smash at Traralgon. Morwell traders frustrated at the handling of the recovery effort. And work underway to restore Yarragon's historic railway station. Good evening, I'm Bruce Roberts. Also tonight, the latest from the Hazelwood mine inquiry. The Hazelwood mine fire inquiry has heard Morwell residents have been left to clean up the aftermath of an industrial disaster, while a former mine geologist told the inquiry too much coal has been left exposed and vulnerable to fire, and more must be done to safeguard the state's assets.
Rob Galton worked as a mine geologist for 23 years. Today he told the Hazelwood mine fire inquiry there hasn't been adequate protection or regulation to safeguard assets since the privatisation of the power industry.
We're getting an increasingly large area of coal exposed to the atmosphere. It's drying, and of course if that's not treated, remediated or covered in some way, the vulnerability to fire increases.
Today's community consultation at Morwell also heard more calls for the return of sprinkler systems.
Re-establishment of the reticulated high-pressure fire service network of mains so that water is readily available to combat fires the minute they break out.
And Mr Galton says vegetation must be cleared around the mine.
There was uncut grass close to the edge of Hazelwood mine in particular. There was forest plantations within a few hundred metres.
Former Morwell MP Brendan Jenkins says the government played down a major disaster.
This was an extraordinary situation, one of the worst fires ever in Latrobe Valley, certainly the worst fires in the open-cut coal mines.
While Vicky Hamilton spoke on behalf of members of the Gippsland Asbestos-Related Disease Support Group.
They were allowed to sit in that smoke and breathe in those toxic fumes for weeks and weeks and weeks before something actually started to happen.
Ms Hamilton says she's disgusted by the clean-up process.
It's a disgrace handing out mops and buckets to people and saying clean your own mess up. It's not their mess. It was made by the mine. And how dare they say to people to clean up a disaster?
And she says the situation could have been worse had the high-pressure hoses been distributed.
They also would have been exposed to asbestos, and it would have been on a large scale.
A session was also held in Churchill this afternoon. 3 more are scheduled for next week. There are sessions in Morwell on Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, while the last of 7 community consultations will be held in Traralgon. Brooke Van Newton, Win News.
Meanwhile, Morwell residents and traders have vented their frustration at the way assistance is being offered to businesses hit hard by the mine fire. Labor today seized on the opportunity, again saying the state government has botched the recovery.
Morwell cafe owner Carly Attard watched as business fell by 50% at the height of the mine fire. Just as confounding is trying to access government assistance. Carly says she's still waiting to hear about a $5,000 relief grant application she made a month ago.
Well, we got told at first we could claim damages and loss of income. Now we've been told only for loss of income. It's definitely frustrating. I don't have time to be on the phone all day working it out.
Labor's Jacinta Allen didn't miss the chance to sink the boots in today.
Obviously any amount of financial support is going to be welcome, but what I'm hearing is that people are frustrated with the process, frustrated at different information being given by different people.
Russell North says some people have suffered up to a 70% drop in trade, but the Small Business Minister insists the relief package is working.
We do know in some circumstances where people have shut their doors, so it has had an enormous impact, but we're really hopeful that through this initiative that the business community will be able to get back on their feet.
So far the government has given out almost $900,000 to 160 businesses in Morwell. And while it can't say how many grants are still being processed, it has extended the deadline for applications.
It's important to note that people who may not have been able to apply for funding can still do so. That's an important message.
Tom Kelly, Win News.